We are so blessed to have a St. Jude patient family here with us on St. Jude TV. I have Shannon and Maddie. Good morning.
Good morning.
So we're going to get right to the story.
Yep.
We were talking a little bit before we started here that you found out early on that Maddie had cancer.
Yes. Actually, Maddie was 12 weeks premature, and I lived in Washington, D.C. I am from Perryville, Missouri, but I moved away for a little bit, and she was premature, so we moved back to Perryville, Missouri. And the day before Maddie was diagnosed, I was sitting at my parents' house watching a St. Jude commercial, and I looked at my mom as I'm holding my 4-pound baby, and I said, there is no way I will ever become a parent at St. Jude's. I could never handle that, just holding her in my arms. Well, the next day we were in St. Louis, and she was diagnosed with retinoblastoma, and from there we went to St. Jude's.
So when you got to St. Jude, you just said that you never could handle it, but St. Jude does so much to help you handle it.
St. Jude's is just, there's no place like St. Jude's. I can't even give you the gratitude to St. Jude's. Like, they saved my daughter's life. She relapsed when she was 16 months old. It spread through her body, but they had all these different protocols and saved her life. From the bus driver to St. Jude's to the cafeteria worker to everyone there, we were all family. And I will never forget, one day I was sitting in the hallway, she was in the procedure, and I'm crying on the floor by myself. I'm a single mom at that time. And I had a lady look at me and said, "You're okay. You're here. You're at St. Jude's. We got you." And then I knew it was all going to be okay.
Well, and that just, again, that seems to be the running theme. And you mentioned the bus driver. It's all corners of St. Jude, and they treat the body, obviously, but the mind and the spirit. They keep everything in mind.
Yes. And then the friends you make. Maddie has a shirt on right now. We met a friend, her second long stay at St. Jude's. She had to do a treatment called hyperbaric. Because Maddie got a 1% of soft tissue radionecrosis. And we were staying at the Ron McDonald House, and then Quincy, her best friend, was there, and we met. And I'm just so thankful that they gave us a few extra years with Quincy. Quincy actually did pass away. And but you just make lifetime friends. Doctors, nurses, I'm still friends with some of them.
That's amazing. All right, Maddie. Mom mentioned Quincy. You had told me about that relationship as well. What does St. Jude mean to you?
Well, St. Jude means absolutely everything to me because, neuroblastoma, which is what Quincy had, it had a very bad habit of coming back. And the one thing I love about St. Jude is if the cancer is too advanced and they know there's not much more they can do, they can at least give you extra time. And they gave me 6.5 years to spend with my friend, because if we went anywhere else, I probably would have only had him for a year. But the one thing I love about St. Jude is they share the research. So you can be at any other hospital, and you could be a patient at St. Jude. You don't have to go to Memphis, because it's hard for children in other countries to, get to St. Jude. But St. Jude is gracious enough to share it, so that way other families don't have to go through what me and Quincy went through. And it is my mission to keep me and Quincy's memory alive, will keep Quincy's legacy alive, and keep speaking for childhood cancer. Because he always asked me, he said, "Maddie, if I die, will people forget about me?" And I said, "No, Quincy." I said, "I will make sure that you are remembered." And I even told him that if I was able to, I would switch places with him. I would give Quincy my life in a heartbeat. But unfortunately, I can't trade places with Quincy, but I can keep the memories and the legacy of him alive. And my favorite picture of us is we're all sitting in the cafeteria, we're eating pizza, and he has on this really bright orange hoodie. You could see him a mile away, but it's just, with the big eyes and the big smile, and that's how I see Quincy. It's with the big eyes and the big smile, and I'm so thankful to St. Jude for giving me extra time with my best friend. I got to color pictures with him. I got to do artwork with him. I got to celebrate birthday parties with him, and I got to meet his favorite singer with him. That was so cool. And it's thanks to the research of St. Jude that I got extra time. 6.5 years isn't enough time, but it's too long to be battling cancer. And 8.5 years old, that is too young to die. But we did get that. And it's primarily because of the research to, of St. Jude, and I couldn't be more thankful. And I was just there, and I was very sick the last few years, and none of my doctors at home wanted to, see me because they kept on blaming my radiation. And St. Jude's like, no, it's not fair. We're going to get you some extra help. And they did get me extra help. So now I know that I have something wrong with me, and it's not just because of the radiation. But St. Jude was going to let me stay an extra few days, even though I was an adult, because my cancer was so rare, and, where it affected me, because I had to get a jaw surgery, and they didn't charge me for that jaw surgery. They were going to give us a place to live, because in 2017, I didn't get a summer. We were at St. Jude, and they were going to make sure that we had a place to live, and they also let me do their summer school program so I wouldn't have to stay back my junior, because I was missing a lot of school. And it's because of St. Jude that I also got to graduate a year early.
Wow. What I hear, passion, obviously, from Maddie. No. It's true. It's true passion. But, her story, or her talking about her friends, we hear this time and time again. She's battling a life-threatening disease, but is more concerned about her friend, and you hear that time and time again, that the children that go there are more worried about their patient friend, yes, than they are themselves. Yes. And that's just it's spectacular to hear, and it's so humbling to hear.
Yes. Like I said, I can't say enough about St. Jude's. Like I said, we were there in September for a life study. They bring her back every 5 years, and they pay her to let them study her. Wow. St. Jude's will just keep continuing to help children and adults.
So as we are kind of wrapping up this segment, and obviously the goal today is to raise money. Yes. Why should somebody give?
Because you never know what's around the corner. I never thought I would be a parent of a St. Jude patient, an aunt, anything. It helps everybody. I've never received a bill. They give me money to travel to St. Jude's and back. You just have to donate. Like I said, I have been a St. Jude, a partner in hope for 24 years, and I will always be a St. Jude partner in hope and a parent.
Maddie, it's probably a pretty simple answer, but why should someone become a partner in hope today?
Because you're helping other children. Not only are you contributing to the research and saving life, but you're giving families and friends more time to make precious memories with their loved ones or their best friend. It can happen to anybody. And for that reason, we need to find a cure, because children deserve to grow up. Parents deserve to be able to see their children grow up, and children deserve to get married, start a family, get a good job. Children deserve to grow up, and if we all come together, we can make that happen, so that way no other child has to go through what me and Quincy went through, and no other child has to make choices that I made. Because when I was 16, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was getting this really rare jaw surgery because, cancer ruined my face, and I was making all these decisions that no other child should have to make, and if we all contribute to the research, then we're going to help children not have to go through these things. Because I would never want anybody to go through what me and Quincy went through, and I made it a promise to keep talking, so that way no other child has to go through what me and Quincy went through.
Well, we can't thank you enough for sharing your story. Maddie, you're amazing. Shannon, you're amazing. And we know that it's a tough story to share, but one that obviously you're willing to share, because you know how important it is for people to give. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're very welcome.